Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for December 5th, 2023. I'm going to make a small amendment to the agenda and move the RCMP delegation to number 2. Which changes all the numbers underneath. However, with that small change, can I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second. Thank you,
Oh, Mike's come
Councilor.
on.
Thank you, Councilor.
I touched this. Touch it?
Yeah. We're good.
Mine's not on.
My arm isn't on either.
Sorry, we're just having some technical difficulties here. Can somebody give us a thumbs up in the Zoom if you can hear us?
No.
Yeah. Oh,
What button says she can hear us, so,
maybe the light's just not on. It's weird.
okay. Well, we'll carry on. Thank you, button. So I had a motion from Councillor Hanchar, seconded by Councillor Burtis. All in favor?
Hi.
Carried. All right, first on our delegation, we have the RCMP. Please come forward. Thank you. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me. So I'll give a little bit of an update on our staffing level. So we're at 55% strength right now. That's with 2 hard vacancies and 2 soft vacancies. One of the hard vacancies will be filled here in the next couple of weeks with a gentleman coming from Saskatchewan. The other one is the purple position, which is Councilor Brown Gilroy is filling right now. So he's going to be in that active position until we fill that position full time. Right now, we're working on a senior member to come into that position, so we're hoping that works out to kind of bring them more leadership and the experience which good staff for the whole. Recently, we've been seeing, as a lot of you know, there's been a few search warrants been done through the community. Quarterly report, which will be forwarded to yourselves here as well, showing that outside of Whitehorse, Watson Lake's the next in line for drug enforcement. So you can see that work being reflected through the Utah here. The traffic stops, we're on board to meet our goal by year fiscal end. That's for the traffic safety, for the school zones, seatbelts, the high risk areas. We're noticing a few areas that we're trying to manage on our side, which are kind of pulling decent services away from the community that aren't in our scope of our duties. So serving civil documents for the sheriffs is one of them. And most recently, the emergency medical services using us as paramedics. We're having a lot of times we're finding that we're being called to medical complaints, like a lifeline, or to act as a driver, which we're not licensed to or have the liability to do. And that's pulling away from services for the police and our. So we're seeing this, it's either staffing challenges that they're facing, which is now rolling into our world. It is putting a bit of a toll on the member, especially when you look at 55% strength. We're trying to really manage where we're putting our energy in, but we're trying to combat like the drug activity in the community, as well as the other political factors. So we're trying to manage that as best we can. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. Yeah. Questions from yourselves?
Sure. You mentioned the 2 hard vacancies, 1 member coming in shortly. Just as usual, if we could ask you bring them in when they're readily available so we can meet everybody. I know that I think there's another member in town that we haven't met yet.
That's right, yeah, Kyle O'Brien.
Kyle, okay. And he'll come in with maybe the next one.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he is out coaching in hockey right now tonight, so.
Good.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, we have 3 of us coaching hockey, which is good, so we're getting on doing that. And then Derek's the new member coming in, he's very community oriented, wants to do some block parties, so that'll be good. Yeah.
And the soft vacancies are holiday time, or are they longer than that?
They're longer than that. So one, I don't have an end date for. The other one, is a maternity leave, so depending on how long that takes, they might look at transfer prior to that, but that's something that we're working with some there. But yeah, we're able to absorb those two right now.
Okay.
We are looking at, so in the meantime, with the corporal position, if we're not gonna be filling that anytime soon, because as we all know, the process does take some time for us, so it's not speedy. We're looking at bringing a recruit in to kind of put a extra member on top of our detachment to get them trained for summertime so that they're ready to go. So that we have an easy transition if one of those other members transfer out, so we're not gonna have a drop in membership. So we're kind of ready to go for the summer, unlike last summer.
Good, good. Good. Once again, thank you for all your hard work. You know, it's tough when you're at 55% capacity, I can only imagine. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good work. We'll look forward to those quarterly reports and bug you about them next time.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have. If I could please have a motion to adopt the draft minutes from the regular meeting of November 21st, 2023.
I'll make a motion to adopt the draft minutes from November 21st, 2023.
I can second that.
Thank you, Councillor Verdes. Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Any questions or comments?
No.
All in favor? Carried. All right, next is a motion to pay the open payables in the amount of $430,539.15.
I'll make a motion to pay the open payables.
Trenchard, thank you, Councillor Burtis.
Any questions?
Sure.
So 1206, it's just a big amount.
And the one above it, same,
And then one, yeah, it's
same,
same company, that West
Outfit.
East project.
Yeah, those were the first two progress payments on the public waste drop-off area.
Okay, and then just 61738.
61738, Simbi Electric. That is the final payments on the rec center energy upgrades and the repayment of his bonding check or contract deposit.
Okay, and then 61742.
ice plant.
Simcoe.
Yeah, oh, that's just ice plant, right?
Yes.
Okay, no,
It's sort of the ice plant.
and then I think those one. No, that's it. Sorry, it's for me.
I was just curious about 61746.
61746 Share Canada, that is enzymes and stuff for the sewage lagoon.
Hmm.
It's a different name. I had to scratch my head on it. The company's changed name. It sounds like more of a food bank.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
I think that was it for me as well. Thank you, Councillor Burtis, for asking those questions.
Yeah, I'm good. Mine were asked. Thank you.
Can I get a little clarification on the Simcoe? Like, is that every year? Is that an annual fee?
Yes, it's a part of our annual contract with them.
Is it?
It's in between all the communities, so we have a joint agreement with Simcoe that covers travel and everything, and that's.
Do they include some maintenance with that
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah,
Okay,
so they do full startup, and then sometimes there's some parts depending on.
Okay.
If there's issues after it's been shut off.
it's a lot for turning a switch.
Yeah, no, it's a full certification because of the ammonia, so there's quite a process to go through it.
Awesome. Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Carried. Okay, we did the policing, so next on our agenda, we have a delegation, Delise Studenberg, regarding the zoning bylaw. Please come forward. Tell us your concerns.
It's happy, but I will go into this.
So roughly, we usually give delegates 10 minutes or so, please. Okay. Good. Okay.
Yes. There's a number of things. One is, there's been a development permit I applied for, and I went through the zoning bylaw. I wrote a letter last meeting for the town hall meeting, the major one. Now, based on the information on that, basically, I'll reread it again. The notwithstanding section 8.9 B and C, shipping containers may be permitted as temporary structures during the construction of a building or structure on a condition that they are removed prior to completion of the building and an issuance of occupancy. So there's a definite timeline. It does not state how many, and there's places in town during construction that there's more than one. So basically, that was start the argument. Now, on applying for a permit, I went to the burn bylaw officer and asked that they actually tried to restrict that other part, I guess you call it part D. They tried to restrict that to one. But she said that, but I declined the application, which I did not decline. I just said, so on the orders -7.8 states here, they are able to, the development officer may direct a person to take any action or measure necessary to remedy the contribution of the act, official community plan or bylaw, the removal or demolition of things. So they can give advice, which I asked for advice, and she perceived that as being a decline, but I was asking for advice. It's not right. It doesn't match what the bylaw states. And the only discretionary ability of the bylaw officer, which is in variance 5.1-D, and this is their only discretionary option. Exercising discretion in granting allowance in height, setbacks, or floor area beyond the requirements of this bylaw, provided they be of no detrimental impact on adjacent properties or the neighborhood, allowances shall be no greater than 5%. That is the only discretionary option the bylaw officer has in this whole bylaw. So they can play up to 5% on your setbacks. They do not can tell you how many of these other things listed in the bylaw they can have. This is not a discretionary thing, listed in our duties. So I'm saying that my original application, which I paid for, should have been granted. There was nothing saying that it shouldn't have been granted. And her advice that it was, I declined it, I did not decline it. I'm saying this is not right. Where do I go from here? So then she had this other fee I had to pay to argue this point. It's not an argument. It does not state. There is no number. So fix the bylaw or let everybody follow the rules. Okay, so that was that one, because I'm kind of hoping she finds me so I can really go to court. So, okay, because this one, my lawyers already said I will win. Okay, now next one is the right of this council to choose to provide a change of zoning on Francis Avenue. So the new bylaw, which is adopted last year, has a size restriction of a mobile home, which is reduced greatly because the existing mobile home lots in town are 800 or a little over 800 square meters. So they've reduced that to 540 from the previous bylaws. Then they have 750 for apartments, which is again ridiculous, and 720 for a duplex. Now, I'm gonna go through everybody's law here, 10. So that's 700, so a mobile home lot is 540 square meters. Now, anybody that is not neighbors to these people, we've had people already write in, and I hate to say when I read my discretionary thing about rezoning the lot beside me, it made it sound like it was a duplex. I apologize, I misunderstood the letter. I would have had a previous letter with the other parties involved, but I did not know it was going to be a sixplex. Now, so apartments are 750 square meters. So I'm going to go through Chris Urban, his lot is 9,977.76 square meters. Deneen's is 5,539.04 square meters. Mr. Verdes's is 1,857.4. Thomas Slager's is 2,089. All of those are actually, Mr. Slager is the only one which is in the 100-meter or 200-meter range and of that. But this is showing that none of you have a new multiplex beside you. And it's sort of like, if you're not living under the conditions of the owners of this area, how can you inflict this kind of thing on to those neighbors, but when you have massive amount of land yourself? But you're inflicting people that have 800 square meters versus 9,000, almost 10,000 square meters to have a 6+ right beside them. That's really kind of grossly inflictory, I guess you can kind of say. And I mean, it's sort of ad hoc to whoever's applying based on, like, that. It seems like Francis Avenue is being hit really hard. And in the original application for 3 duplexes going there, which previous council member has happened to say that they were grossly wrong in choosing to go, because there's no room for parking, there's no room for children to go play. They're totally grossly packed in there. And at that time, I did go to Councilman Ehrman, and she said, well, we need places to rent. She didn't wrap her head around how little space it is. I went to Chris Urban, he was barely listened. And Danita was like, she probably didn't understand it, but she didn't actually listen at all. And we have this whole problem with massive amounts of people on a very short point, and it seems to all be directed at Francis Avenue. And as an owner on Francis Avenue at the time, we had a signature from every owner that lived there on Francis Avenue and every resident. But again, totally disregarded by this. It has 2 people on council. Some of the people have changed since that time. And it's happening again. And I probably don't see a difference in this, because I mean, all these people have enough land, let's inflict that on somebody else. It seems very unfair, unless you live in a block beside them, maybe don't inflict this upon people. And I own the lot exactly beside that. I will be the most inflicted. And I'm really sorry I didn't come up in the last meeting, but at least the 2 people that did, I really recommend that they did that. But the fact that the whole community, the whole street, actually wrote a petition the last time, and this part of this council never disregarded it completely and pushed it forward. So that was my big issue on that, is that I have no problem as a neighbor, because the lot size, my lot at that property is 877 square meters. The actual one that they're applying to put a 6+ on is 1,364, which is smaller than anybody's on this council that I know of, other than yourself, because I don't really live. So that being the case, I think this is really ridiculous. And when they redid this under the previous bylaw, this particular amount would not have been available for apartments. Does anybody actually realize how small that area is for apartments? It's just something that people should be aware of. We live in the Yukon, we're not downtown Toronto. We should really look at the size of the landmass, push people on. Yeah, that was the other thing. And then looking at the people applying for doing the development, I looked at their property and on the lake, and there's no setback up to the 24 feet they're supposed to have on their property. So even when they built there, they didn't even follow the bylaws, and there was no history of a adjustment made through anything. So at that point, we didn't have a zealous, I guess, bylaw officer that rechecked the measurements, but that was a relatively new build, and it was built when the bylaws were exactly the same on those properties. And yet the property is supposed to be from the property line to the building is 24 feet. It is not 24 feet on that one. So how do we know that they're going to follow the rules on the next one? And then the other thing is the, let's just say that. Okay, so on lots similar to this, that they've actually waived the taxes as a taxpayer. You waive the taxes on these developments, and yet nobody looks into it. So if you get the, there's a housing initiative fund, and the housing initiative fund requires that you do not charge rent over the mean rate. It has to be less than or the mean rate. So as of 2022, I'm only the statistics and to find out what the mean rate in Watson Lake is. A 2-bedroom apartment is $800. So the same party that is doing this is not charging less than $800 for their apartments. Neither is the 3 duplexes up there. When they got funding for that, that is a criteria of the funding. And yet none of them are charging less than $800. Myself, I've been renter on that street since 1992. And you know what? My rent for a 3-bedroom place, $800. So I'm sorry, I don't think you have to go on this. The Yukon Housing has to deal with this. It's not an issue the town has to, but the fact you're waiving taxes on it, on other places like this, is telling me that it's badly money poorly spent. Okay, so that's that. I mean, but not only do you not follow the rules you signed for, which last year I went through this program and I signed, and that's what you have to sign for. So obviously you sign for it and then you don't actually follow the rules. As well as applying for a development permit, obviously they didn't issue it like that, and yet you didn't follow the rules. So that's saying that, you know what, rules don't mean anything. Okay, next step, next major issue, I thought I had time was.
Getting a little close.
Yeah, I checked it, but I'm probably about 8 minutes.
You're more than halfway. Thank you. Yeah, you're closer to 10, so.
Okay. So the next one is, I have 3 lots on 8th Street, 4 lots. And since 2020, I have been unable to develop them. Before that, they were owned in triplicate within the family, so sad to say, one of the partners passed away. And then I had to buy another partner. So up until 2020, I couldn't develop the property at all because you couldn't, unless you can all agree on something, nothing gets done. So I paid for a lot of taxes over the years on property. So in 2020, I purchased and inherited the difference of my partnership. Now, at the same year, the town, without, as far as I can see any history, they did a development permit and lifted the project, which flooded my properties. So at this time, they flooded them to the point that they could not be developed. So because of that, I'm going to send a letter and an invoice for my taxes to be returned until this property gets addressed. When the town rezoned that property, which as decided, I never got a letter saying they're being rezoned because they went from commercial local to institutional. Again, no record of them asking for permission or a meeting on it, no letter to me. And then all of a sudden, I mean, who did the development? That allowed somebody to lift the property beside you and direct all the water on you 8 feet. So I've been very patiently waiting for this to be addressed, and actually the town, after much negotiation, we're trying to work, which means I have to give up an easement, but I will give up an easement for some things if I get an easement in return. But in the meantime, why would I be paying the largest amount of tax, which I think is, what is it, $1,200 a lot, to be flooded out since 2020? So I will be writing a letter, and I would like my taxes back because I haven't been able to do anything with lots. And just this year, they finally got the overburden of their property development, which again did not make proper development permit because no other party could do the flood your property. So I am going to be writing a letter in and requesting my taxes get returned, and hopefully once this gets resolved, the town reslopes the property, doesn't flood my property, then we can move forward from there. And in the meantime, the snow on the properties is all piled where it will directly actually melt and flood my property next spring. So not that I'm willing to work with, as long as the town is not charging me taxes while flooding me, it would be very nice to at least, I'm willing to move forward from here. But as long as I'm continually being flooded, I can't develop the properties. Those are my 3 things today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stuenberg. Appreciate your comments. I see and hear you about your 3 issues. We're not going to give you an answer today because we need facts and we need information to respond to you in such a way. So we will ask admin to give us some information on these issues and hopefully form a letter to reply to you on all three issues. I would say, however, that it's always good to respect the people that you're hoping to work with in a manner that we would respect you. So names and, shortcomings and, discretionary pieces such as might be mindful in the future.
Thank you for your.
Okay, so we will endeavor to see what we can do about these issues. I know admin has been working on them, and if we can get all the information we can, we'll write a letter in response from council to yourself. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. So unless there's anybody else who'd like to add anything? Nope,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. And just to be clear, we heard you and we will, we want to make sure that we take everybody's considerations and care. We do care about our community. We take time. This is a big job. There's a lot going on. So it's not as easy as some people might make it out to be. And we do talk about these things regularly. So not just on occasion, lots. We talk about zoning, we talk about multi-residences, we talk about all sorts of things. So just so you're aware. Okay, moving right along. Number 6 on our agenda is the Yukon government welcome to the Yukon sign. We got a letter from Sierra Vandermeer from the Deputy of Tourism and Culture. I will read it. Dear Mayor Urban, Government of Yukon is working to replace Welcome to Yukon signs at 9 Yukon Gateway locations. The current signs are over 25 years old and need replacement. Replacing the Welcome to Yukon signs will address key recommendation in the Yukon Tourism Development Strategy to improve signage to better support visitor experiences. The gateway sign design follows the Yukon Place brand, which was developed in partnership with Yukon First Nation Chamber of Commerce and involved a series of in-depth one-on-one interviews with more than 80 diverse Yukoners from across the territory. More information about the Place brand can be found at yukonbrand.ca. The design is attached for your review, as you will see. Do we have a copy of that? Can we put it up on the TV by chance?
Yes, I can.
A call for artwork will be issued, which will ask artists to submit unique artwork that provides welcoming imagery that represents the territory's unique culture, history, and natural beauty. Selection of artwork will be made by 4 regional committees made up of visual artists, tourism operators, and community members connected to the region. If you have suggestions of individuals for this committee, please let us know. To address the aging infrastructure of existing site, replacement of the current signs will be installed in phased approach over the summer of 2024. They are very old and decrepit signs, so.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that they're gonna be replacing those, because honestly, the sandbags that they put on to hold up the rotten current ones, I thought was a little embarrassing, so.
We would offer a few little feedback, but I like the idea of changing the artwork here to there. It's not on there.
No, but it is on screen share, worship, sorry.
Oh, it's just not on it.
Not-
Can't be on this one. Okay,
I can stop screen share and move over.
sure. See if the gallery can see it. Okay. Sometimes it's a challenge to find artists. So I guess.
So is it that gray piece on the bottom?
I
I thought it was the one in the middle, no?
think that's correct.
Like that, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, like
So your worship, as I had on screen share earlier, but there's 3 different color designs. I met with Minister Stryker on Saturday. And he says that they're actually gonna be using all 3 depending on the area. And the center portion is where the artwork's gonna go on each one of them. And their goal is to switch out the artwork every few years So to showcase more local artists, and the artwork is gonna be chosen by a committee from each region. So for the Watson Lake sign, it'll be a committee of people from Watson Lake area that will pick the artwork that goes on it. Cool. And then the other thing that he mentioned is that he wants to the sign that's now currently at Lucky Lake, he wants to do some upgrades to it and actually move it to the signpost forest as part of that heritage of that history of the sign.
No need.
The one that's rotten?
Well, that's just the signpost, that's. not the
Okay.
sign.
Just toss it in there.
Yeah,
So anyways, so that's what that design is.
Excellent.
thank you.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll have to get the word out on that committee and hopefully get some good.
Yeah, it will be an advertised version.
Cool. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the CAO report, if you would, please. CAO Lockwood.
Yes, your worship, we are, now that we had the town hall meeting, like I said, it was April last week. We've taken that feedback and actually updated, which should be in your general maintenance bylaw, which is before you yet tonight. The budget stuff, we're still finalizing, which is in for you for second reading tonight. And so we were in meetings, myself and majority of my, well, I should say Tiffany and Glenn were with me in Whitehorse for meetings with Yukon government and Yukon First Nations on, they covered emergency measures, asset management. And they talked about the Canada Community Build Fund, which is the new gas tax. And we spent actually a full morning on it, reviewing the pros and the cons and what's worked and what doesn't work, that process to try and smoothen it out. And so it was a very informative, really 2 days in Whitehorse on that. And then that was followed up by CAO meetings and AYC meetings, which I believe Councillor Hanchar and Councillor Paquette are going to update council on moving forward. The other thing that I was approached by Minister Mostyn, he is looking to have a meeting with council beginning a couple of weeks in January here in Watson Lake, and I see Riel's online, and he's going to see if council can come up with some dates for that. And so those things are all progressing. I got some clarity on the capital budget, which I'll share once you get there, about gas tax funding. But other than that, that's about where we are. It's just been, we're just trying to get little projects chewed up at the moment. Pending other questions as you proceed later on.
Sure, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you, CAO Lockwood. So yeah, we'll hold any questions for Councillor Open Forum. That'd be great. Number 8 on our agenda tonight is the general maintenance bylaw. Councillor Burtis and Councillor Hanchar did a very detailed overhaul of the bylaw at the town hall meeting, which was great. We got lots of feedback. It was well discussed. There's some bigger topics, i.e. snow removal. It's a big one. Composting was interesting.
Bird feeding.
Bird feeding was a conversation that we had as well, which administration has provided other municipalities that actually have bird feeding
In their general meeting,
in their general maintenance
Or-
bylaws.
or just standalone.
Yeah,
But the one, like, just a comment on that, I was just reading them earlier today, and they're nice, like the ones that, like the Campbell River one, it just addresses it, it's a small little blurb. It's about pigeons, but you could put whatever sort of bird you want in there.
I agree. I thought it was just like,
That one was just so simple and easy, they just said, don't feed the pigeons, like really on your property or.
Yeah.
And like, it was quite simple, and then the other one was, it was good, it was just really long-winded, was the wild bird and animal I love one, like, because it gets right to the nitty gritty, but it pretty much said the same thing, like, just don't feed these 3 birds. In there,
That's a bylaw in its entirety.
that's right, that in its entirety, but if we were gonna add something to ours, like, it's quite simple, just by seeing the one from Campbell. River there, it just said, don't feed pigeons, but we could just say, don't feed.
Yeah.
Ravens, or ravens slash this slash that, or whatever we wanna word, or whatever people want to word in there.
Being at a committee of the whole, is there anything council would like me to go over from this maintenance bylaw? Would you like me to discuss or read out loud any of the red comments or any of the changes? Is there something, anything you want to point out for tonight?
Snow removal one was a good one, if you wanna read some of the comments from the.
Okay. I will go over snow removal. And then if you have another one, Councillor Hanchar will go to that. Sound good? Okay, so the snow removal is brand new to the general maintenance and nuisance bylaw. It was not in there previously. So I'll just start from the beginning. The newest edition, I guess it is the red. Every owner or occupier of real property must not place snow removed from private property on public highways, public lands adjacent to a highway, streets, boulevards, or other roadways so that it impedes the municipality's crew from clearing the streets. This includes pushing snow from private driveways or parking lots onto the street or across the street to place snow on boulevards at intersections or sewer or storm manhole covers, water main valves, or fire hydrants. So I'll just read a couple comments that follow that. Council acknowledges the difficulty around this and wonders what solutions could be provided to residents and businesses. Administration explained the high costs to the municipality to move snow that has been pushed onto town right-of-ways. A main complaint during winter is the snowpack bumps that form at the end of a driveway that cause when streets are peeled of snowpack by Public Works. Do we want something in the bylaw stating that this is the responsibility of the property owner to remove snowpack from driveways? Discussion to follow. There's a couple comments from the town hall that I'll read. There was varying opinion from the public, agree that there needs to be something to address how residents deal with snow removal. Perhaps there can be different rules from different zoning types. Heavily populated areas cannot push snow across highways, but less populated areas with green belts adjacent, if not impeding the town right away. Another comment was, should be something to prohibit people from moving snow onto other properties, snow blowing over a fence, etc. One more comment was, there needs to be more clarity about snowpack removal and the snow that the town right of way, no man's land, also around the use of snow traps. So this was actually an interesting comment, that the land between the end of your driveway and the town's responsibility is somewhat of a no man's land. You know, for example, in front of the store, our property actually ends right at the end of the concrete, but then there's a good 3 or 4 feet there of no man's land, which is not maintained by Public Works. So similar with many driveways, right? The driveway only goes to your curb stop and the rest is no man's land. So I don't know really what to do with that situation. Because what do you do with that no man's land?
The city of Whitehorse bylaw, it says that it's on the responsibility of the homeowner.
In the no man's land?
Yeah, even on the sidewalk out front, which is city property.
Yeah.
If there's snow there, you're obligated to clear it from in front of your residence.
Okay. Is that something we want to pursue?
Well, I don't know, I think if it's like, I know it's not your part of your driveway, but it's part of your driveway.
You need to get in and
Like,
out of your driveway.
yeah, like, I don't know, I think that's homeowner's responsibility. I think once it hits the road though, it's not ours, but I don't agree with pushing snow onto the road. Like leaving big piles of snow just on the road, but I don't like, but I don't disagree with pushing snow into
Greenbelt.
I think people should be able to do that if it's not impeding anything.
The only issue that I think that could be a problem, is when the snow piles up so much that then the town is now moving your snow that you've put on the green belt. Like you're talking about, it's just,
Like if it turns into a big, huge hill,
yeah, it
whatever.
becomes a great big, and then the town is often lifting snow and removing it physically, trucking it away. Now we're trucking your snow away, which isn't our responsibility to truck your snow away. And that's my issue with that, because they often are cleaning the ditches out. They're often cleaning out all of that, and that would be part of the snow then that they're removing.
Snow removal is a difficult situation, and we have the Cadillac of snow removal in our community.
We sure
I think
do.
we're very lucky, and our budget is huge on snow removal, so we should err on the side of caution of restricting people. And, maybe encourage some of their own movement. However, I do know that in many, like, there's some places where it's really hard to put snow anywhere. If you go down Morley Crescent or Teslin Crescent, there's houses so tightly packed in there, there's nowhere to put snow. So I don't know what the
Challenge.
solution for those places are, So maybe, but on the other side, Patty's house, if she wanted to push snow onto the other side of the road, there's nothing there. There's no
No one's
reason.
gonna remove that snow.
No, as long as it's off the roadway completely. There's then again another rule that you have to have. Mhm.
It's difficult though, because I know somebody even this year was. Their ATV that they were using broke down in the middle of the road when the guys were actually in the grader trying to plow our roadways. So
Yeah.
I mean, so there's stuff like that happens that isn't really, so then, the guys gotta get out and help them figure it out to move their equipment to get through, so.
We should potentially visit this beside the snow removal policy. Because there is an entire policy that is adjacent to this issue. So maybe there's something within that can help the process of snow removal for everybody.
Because I don't wanna spend more money.
I don't want to spend more money. We don't want.
I wanna make it like.
Do more
easy
work.
for-
But we don't want to start a riot. We want to provide a decent service, and we do.
I think that people should try and make a physical effort to
Yeah.
keep as much snow on their property as it can. But I do understand, and I think Public Works understands as well, is when we've had some really heavy snowfalls, we're stuck, like.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think people should make the utmost effort to keep it on their property until, like you say, some of the spots are so tight, there's no, at a certain point,
You can't-
there's
yeah.
nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do understand that,
I wonder if there's a way to gauge that snowfall level.
Right.
When you get to a certain point of snowfall that it deems some sort of extra.
Well, everybody's property is different. Like we have a slope
Yeah.
on our land, so we have lots of opportunity to put snow, right? Whereas other people don't.
Yeah, I know.
There's no real gauge in that respect, but I hear what you're saying, but yeah, we've had some pretty crazy snowfalls. And I think the town has worked really hard to help people to remove a lot of snow that was actually on private property.
So people who live like on Teslin Crescent, places like that, like where do they put their snow right now? Like, are they pushing it into the road?
Your worship, some places push on the road, some places, depends on how they designed or laid out their yard. You push it to the back of their property, so some properties, they pile it on the lawn, so everyone's different.
Mhm.
I was just wondering if that's been an issue of the town, like having to come by and like clear all that stuff off the road.
We definitely have had to clean that back on Francis, on Teslin and Morley.
But I've actually seen people drive their vehicle that's so full of snow onto the roadway and clean it off there as opposed to in their own yard.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, it's.
people drive the highway and knock it off at the gas pumps every day.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah, no, totally.
It's painful, but it happens.
Yeah.
I guess we should look at what our ultimate, what we need to provide to administration to do the best job they can possibly do is what we have to have in this bylaw. So take this to your compadres and friends and pass the word around and tell everybody that we need to make this as easy for everybody as possible. And if you get any feedback from other people, then we'll bring it back. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Cause it's a tough one. I don't think there's a year that I've sat here, we didn't talk about snow removal in some capacity. So I'll just, if that's okay with everybody, I'll move on to the next topic of the general nuisance and highway or maintenance bylaw. Because we have talked about this quite a bit. And we want to make sure that anybody and everybody hears about it so that we don't have the complaint that we never talked about it. Highway and boulevard damage was not addressed in the current general maintenance bylaw. There is 2 sections here. Let me read them. So it's 8.01. It shall be unlawful and contrary to the provisions of this bylaw for any person within the town to damage a highway or boulevard or hedge, tree, shrubbery adjacent to any highway or boulevard. Every person causing such damage shall be liable for the costs of repairing such damage in addition to any penalty assessed under this bylaw. Or B, anything erected or maintained adjacent to a highway or boulevard for the purpose of lighting the highway, and every person causing such damage shall be liable for the costs of repairing such damage in addition to any penalty assessed under this bylaw. 8.02, no person shall drive upon and no vehicle shall be allowed on or across grass of any highway or boulevard within the town, except when necessary to cross part of the highway or boulevard for the process of delivery or removal of furniture, household goods, or other like chattels, in which case planks of sufficient length and width shall be placed over the roadway in front of the building in or from which the chattels or goods shall be delivered to or removed, so that the damage or injury shall not ensue to that part of said roadway. And the person responsible for such transporting of goods and chattels shall be liable should the highway or boulevard not be in as good condition.
Sounds great.
Yeah, there's no comments for that.
Okay. Please take care of our roadways. Okay. Defacing property. Again, was not in our current general maintenance bylaw. Every person in any way removes, injures, damages, defaces, or disfigures any public or private building, wall, fence, hedge, railing, sign, monument, statue, light standard, or telephone pole in part or whole, owned or maintained within the town by cutting, breaking, painting, or dabbing with paint or other substances shall have contravened the provisions of this bylaw and shall be liable for the cost of repairing such damage in addition to any penalties assessed under the provisions of this bylaw. Comments?
I
9,
don't really have any. We have a note there that we want to shorten it, but I don't really
how do you shorten it?
have a suggestion for that.
Yeah,
The only thing was, did you read the comments from this? I can't remember. There's a town hall comments there that I thought were interesting.
Yeah, there is some actually at the bottom of that.
okay, I'll read the town hall comments. And this is committee of the whole, so we'll save some questions for gallery open forum. I just noticed a couple questions popping up on the thing on the Zoom. No owner or occupier shall cause, permit, or allow the defacing of property, including graffiti, to be on any surface or structure of their property. Every owner or occupier shall remove from their property any accumulation of graffiti within 30 days of becoming aware of the graffiti. Okay, these are the comments from the town hall. Vandalism on private property is not done with permission, so the burden is put on the homeowner. What happens if the homeowner cannot afford to repair the damages? Any comments?
Nope.
Okay. Should give more than 30 days to rectify. People may face challenges getting necessary materials in that time frame. town hall comment that was the skate park, who regulates and maintains, should the skate park be held to the same standards as the properties? Any comments? No, okay. Perhaps graffiti is not the correct word to use to refer to the type of damage and defacing a property that the town is hoping to tackle. Fair. The skate park's a little different, but
I just think it's because that's the culture.
it can be. Depends what it is.
That's right.
Should be.
No, it should be tasteful.
Yes,
Yes.
but I think, yeah. Okay. Any other comments for defacing property? I think what we have there is decent, or, you know, should that be fixed? It's pretty good.
I think about the, you know, the time frame to rectify, I think that's a valid point, because, yeah, if you know, I don't know,
If your fence bloating.
or if it's an insurance thing or what, but I mean, if you can't get the stuff to do it or whatever, I don't know, maybe it might take a bit longer.
That could be addressed. through-
That's could be addressed, your worship, by it's a guideline and then with bylaw meeting with the property owner. As long as there's efforts being made to rectify it.
Okay,
That's where that's, you know.
they're not just like gonna get a fine if they're like actively like, yeah, okay. Okay, that was my only comment really there. Okay,
Okay, moving right along. This is the fourth time we've read this aloud, so I hope everybody is paying attention.
That's great.
want me to read it?
I got her. House numbering was not addressed in the current general maintenance bylaw. All owners and occupiers of real property of which a dwelling unit or building has been erected shall display the number assigned to the property at a location plainly visible from the highway upon which the house or building is situated. In the case of country residential lots, assigned numbers shall be placed on reflective backgrounds or be good reflective materials at least 15 centimeters high and shall be located within 3 meters of the highway upon which the house is situated. All owners or occupiers of real property shall display the number assigned to the property in any area illuminated by light. Comments?
I just noticed in quite a few of the other bylaws that we reviewed that the lighting component was not part of any of the other bylaws, that the materials recommended were to be reflective basically, and actually in some of the other municipalities, the numbering was actually provided by the municipality. Which I mean, I don't know, that looks like, but, and also the country residential, the 3 meters from the highway, that seems to be like a standard method. Anyway.
Okay. 15 centimeters high is not very high. That would be my concern. Country residential assigned numbers shall be placed on reflective backgrounds or be of reflective materials at least 15 centimeters high. Is only that high. So if there's snow.
No, yeah.
No,
Worship, that's the lead size of the lettering.
the letter.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the clarification.
I was like, sorry, okay.
My grass would be taller.
Just hidden in the sand.
Yeah.
Meters.
See, at least I'm just checking, actually. I'm not sure you guys are all paying.
Okay.
Did I get all the comments there? I think so.
You did.
Okay.
You did.
All right, maintenance of fencing and similar structures. Ready? No person shall cause, permit, or allow a fence situated on real property owned or occupied by them to exist in a state of bad repair. Where the exterior doors, windows, or other openings to vacant or abandoned buildings or structures are broken, improperly fitted, or otherwise in disrepair, the property owner or occupier shall board the building or structure as a security safety measure so as to prevent the entrance of unauthorized persons or elements in infestation pests. The boarding required under section 11.02 shall be installed from the exterior and properly fitted with the frames of the opening in a watertight manner by nails or screws. Where an owner or occupier of real property has received a notice from the town that any part of the property is deemed to be in bad repair, such owner or occupier shall make such repairs to the property as detailed in the notice. Such notice shall require the repair be completed within a specific time frame as determined by the designated officer. Whereas persons responsible are considered to be in default pursuant of section 1104 of this bylaw, the town and its workers and others may enter and effect such repairs at the expense of the persons so defaulting. And the said owner or occupier shall be billed such charges by the town. If such charges are unpaid on the 31st day of December of the same year, they shall be added to and form a part of the property taxes. 2 comments from the town hall. How much time will be given to people to clean up their property when found in contravention? Who would be found responsible to fix fencing that is being damaged from neighboring trees and roots?
That would be like a civil matter though, wouldn't it?
Coming from,
Like neighbor to neighbor, like they would,
I guess you have
that
to
wouldn't be us though, right?
determine whose
No,
vegetation it is.
yeah, but that wouldn't have nothing to do with us.
No.
That'd be a civil.
Correct. Well, that seems pretty straightforward. Any comments, questions? Okay. Composting, not addressed in the current general maintenance bylaw. All composting shall be carried out by the owner or occupier of a property in accordance with the following requirements. Composting shall take place only in a container or pile and only on land which a dwelling is located. Composting shall take place to the rear of the building or property and shall be located at least 1 meter from any property line and at least 3 meters from any dwelling unit, deck, or patio area associated with the adjacent property, measured from the nearest part of the composting container or pile to the nearest part of the adjacent dwelling, deck, and patio. Bones, meat, fish, dairy products, fat products, human feces, or other animal feces shall not be placed in container or pile used for composting. Food waste placed in composting container or pile shall be kept covered with yard waste soil or compost. Composting shall be maintained as to not attract insect, vermin, or animals. I'm going to read some of the comments from town hall. What problem is this trying to address? Is it a big enough issue that the town feels a need to regulate composting? Fair question. Deferring opinions on what should be allowed in compost, bones and meat. Some people do, people don't. I don't know. I don't compost. Shouldn't say. Will the town provide composting bins or set standards of acceptable bins? Don't believe that was a thought of ours. Once a compost bin is full, what does the property owner do with the material? Imposing too many rules may discourage composting as well as will have more in the landfill as a result. There have been issues in the past with compost sites attracting wildlife and creating an eyesore.
So your worship, after my CEO meetings this week, we actually did talk about composting.
Good.
And other communities, it has been an issue, hence the reason that the recommendation is that there is requirements. Because other communities, they've had issues where people have been throwing meat and stuff and then it's attracting foxes, bears, ravens, everything else. So, and then the same with the location of the bins to other neighbors' property, because composting grass and stuff does give an aroma, or it depends what else was put in there. So it could affect neighboring properties. So Haines Junction actually has started a pet project where they're giving a rebate on a certain brand of countertop recycler. It's electric, you plug it in and then it goes through a cycle to process through, but the refunds by the community I think on the smaller, $100, and the big models, $150, but they cost like $300 to buy. So the homeowner's still putting out a big chunk of money. And I think they're only sitting with 15. I think they said they have 15 people that are participating. But it's like a big dehydrator that dries everything out. And it turns it into like, the CEO said his makes like, it looks like bacon crumbles. Bacon bits, like just dries them up.
Well, thank you for some information on that. Is there any other comments from council at this point?
Mm,
Compost, I don't know, like that's my thing is I'm knowledgeable about. Okay, I don't know how to
Councilor
comment.
Paquette, you have any?
Compost tea.
Councilor Henshaw, comments? I see there's comments coming up on the chat again, so we'll.
Yeah, I don't know, I've,
Circle back to those as well. I think, well, my personal opinion is that composting is a good thing, that it should happen. It definitely will help the life of our landfill, and it will help with the amount of stuff going in there. I think there's potential for it. Maybe if admin would like.
for sure, that's.
Put too much.
For sure, sorry, not to interrupt, but like, I don't think anybody's saying like that, arguing whether or not composting is a good thing. I think it's just how restrictive it is for people to do it at their home. So like telling them where they can put the container on their property and stuff like that, because saying that it has to be like behind, for example, by so many feet, like, I mean, is that really gonna work out for everybody? And like controlling what goes in there, I mean, so. I don't know.
I think,
And should it maybe be, sorry, last thought, it just should maybe be addressed in the solid waste bylaw somewhere. As well.
I like the idea of if you're gonna compost, having bins. I mean, the town takes responsibility for that, just because then people are encouraged to compost. But it's not on their property and it's not causing issues with other issues potentially. I know lots of, if you go down south, people are putting their grass trimmings in a compost bin and the town picks that up, so I don't know.
Could be really hard cost.
Your worship, that's something that we would, that administration would never recommend.
Yeah,
Due to the costs and the maintenance, because having seen what goes into White Horses, there's people throw garbage, they throw everything.
The sorting and
Sort of, we're not equipped to do compost and recycling at curbside.
yeah, so anyway, that's just kind of where I'm at. I can see the reason for it needing to be addressed in this bylaw, because at first I was like, why do we even need to have it in here? But after experiencing, that giant compost pile a couple of years ago, like that was disgusting.
so I think too, I think it's in the administration's advantage to have this here with some discretion available. Because if you're giving people guidelines to compost, it might encourage them to compost. Also, you're not giving away to people abusing the situation and just having a pile of garbage somewhere.
maybe give
Yeah.
some information.
Yeah, it could be a learning,
Thing.
but we have to prepare ourselves.
That's right.
So I think we should have this here.
I think so too.
Yeah, no,
And I
for
think
sure.
like giving out some information on how to do it properly.
Yep.
Would help too.
Yep.
I have no idea, so,
Good.
and I'd like to.
So we're on the side of leaving it in there. We have to definitely send out information and get people educated on.
Yeah, so like we're still seeking feedback on this at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully we can get a bit more from the
Active.
avid composters in the community, and then we can
Encourage more people. to
fix it
do
up a
so.
bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, good. Wow, still lots to read here.
I don't know if you have to read it out
No?
if you don't want.
I'd rather not. Like, order to remedy a contravention. I don't think it was a big issue.
That was pretty straightforward
It
because
was. And review of order by council. just new to the bylaw, not really.
Yeah, but-
Anything that was controversial or difficult, it's
No,
just the
that's-
ability to deal with this current bylaw.
Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
okay. So if I can leave it at that,
I just wanted to add my
2 cents,
opinion on the wildlife section of it.
sure.
I just agree with what Councillor Alberta said earlier about, actually, I don't know if you were just pointing out the different one, but anyway, I liked, the 2 samples that were provided. I liked that, the one was just a quick blurb where it just said like, this is a problem. And it was actually funny because it was like in the middle of all the stuff.
Yeah.
Pigeons. Don't feed the pigeons.
That's exactly how.
But I mean, I think we could do that, you know, that they list off the 3 large breed of birds that we have here and just, you know, have that as a subsection really quickly saying like, do not feed them. Whatever, and then have the section, you know, I think there's gonna be appendix with all the fines and have that in there. And maybe it can be, an escalating scale, you know, where you start first offense and then it gets increasingly, you know,
Mhm.
if it happens repeatedly, you know what I mean? But I also did like the lengthy bylaw where it was just like, I thought it was, you know, serves its purpose, but it is really long. And, I don't know if we should also put something in there about wildlife, because we do have a problem with those foxes as well, with
That's right.
people feeding those. So I don't know if we should have something in there that, you know, it's not just the birds. There's a lot of things that, you know,
Cause in that lengthier one, it's nice because the definition parts are like good, like,
Yeah.
because it says wild animal and then it gives you the, like, what you would think there's a wild animal, like the way it
Right.
defines it and like songbird and like
Songbird,
domestic
Yeah.
animal, like.
okay, so my only thing about that was, I think, I would be against too many restrictions around the songbird section of it, just because I think we do have a lot of like avid bird people
No, that's
in the
right.
town that would probably be upset about that. I think a lot of it does make sense, like if you look at, you know, I can't remember which one it was, I read like 4 of them, but, you know, just to not make it too restrictive, I guess, but, I agree with most of the points in there. But I'm not again, I guess, anyway, sorry.
Which direction would you like to go? Do you want to do an animal feeding bylaw, or do you want to say, don't feed the birds in the general maintenance bylaw?
Both.
You
Well, it's
want
just a
to,
one liner in the general maintenance that says don't feed it, but
Yeah.
then there's also,
But then you can do,
like, as per the wildlife bylaw, don't
Okay.
feed them,
Well, let's,
just so there's no question.
hey,
Sorry, Cam.
yeah, Lockwood.
I know. Keep eye roll.
No, your worship, I just want to caution council about duplicating things in numerous bylaws.
Okay, so what's a suggestion from admin?
Well, I personally don't care which one it's in, but it's one or the other.
Okay, then okay,
That's the
feeding
same-
of wild.
I'm
birds.
going towards the full bylaw.
So then that's the same as where you talked about composting and having it here and the solid waste
Yeah.
garbage bylaw, is one or the other.
Right.
Otherwise, we end up with bylaws that aren't in sync,
Yep.
and then.
I understand.
you wanna Amend one, you gotta amend 2 bylaws, so.
Fair enough.
That's reasonable. I understand what you're saying. I think that I like a separate bylaw for this issue.
Yeah, wild birds and feeding animals, so
it
like,
is a big issue.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a big issue.
and,
So that's a new bylaw for us.
but this part I just wanted to point out because I find it hilarious, but also, maybe we can put it in our bylaw somewhere, but the town of the city of Dawson, did you also notice that it's called that in all their bylaws? I thought that was funny too. Anyway, in their, maintenance bylaw, they have a section about nuisance, just general nuisance. And it's a one-liner and it just says nuisances prohibited generally. And I love that. Anyway, but it says no person shall cause or permit a nuisance to occur or remain on any property owned by that person, period.
That's awesome. I love it.
Anyway, so I guess my issue with that was, not my issue, but, when we were talking about this at the town hall, and I think I wasn't the only person who was feeling this way, but it's called the general nuisance and maintenance bylaw. And it was all about maintenance and there was 0 about nuisances. And I know that we did away with the noise one before, but anyway, there are many types of nuisances.
That's true.
Anyway, that was just my thought, and
is there some direction that you would like us?
I like that line.
So would you like Min to provide some feedbacks on the nuisance part?
Yeah, something about general nuisance, or I don't know.
Is that possible? Administration,
Yes, your worship, it comes down to definition, right?
yeah,
Right.
So Dawson City nuisance, they give a definition with 2, 4, 8 different meanings. So nuisance means the condition of the property or a thing that affects or may affect the amenities of a neighborhood or the safety, health, welfare of the people in the neighborhood, and includes next is or B, A, I should say, a building that is ruinous and dilapidated state of repair. B, an unoccupied building that is damaged or is in imminent danger to public safety. C, land that is overgrown with grass and weeds. D,
Oh, that
untidy and
makes sense.
unsightly property. Dumpster vehicles, and F, open excavations on properties.
That's the definition of
That's
nuisance.
that's their definition, so I have to go back and compare our definition of nuisance, if we even have one in here now.
Yeah.
To, which now I just lost their name. Just to compare that it's actually spoken to.
I just had one last point. When I was reading the City of Whitehorse bylaw, I noticed that they have a section about offensive growth. Which is basically if your grass is too long.
Mm.
And I think that that's been an issue here, on a lot of the properties, that are, I don't know what you call it. Social housing,
And-
Tintina, Yukon housing, whatever. And anyway, it's if it's over a certain length, which is, they actually have 10 centimeters here. That you're in violation of the bylaw.
So your worship, yeah, that falls under Dawson City's nuisance property. But we do in our current, or in the draft bylaw, there is no definition of nuisance.
Oh, sorry.
We can either add one or take out the reference to nuisance based on councils.
council's looking for some nuisance definitions.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah, no,
That's probably good to have.
I think.
Cover your bases.
well, I agree, there needs to be. If it's mentioned that something in there, it needs to be definitions,
Yeah,
Totally.
otherwise it leaves to,
then you get,
yes.
yeah, general, yeah, you need definitions. It needs to be specific.
Yeah, your worship, we'll do a thorough review of definitions to try and tighten all that up.
Thank you, administration, for your hard work. Any more comments with regards to the general maintenance bylaw?
No, just the grass one.
Okay, that would be nuisances.
So what is called?
Yeah, it's under nuisance.
Sorry. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All right,
I do have one question. I don't know sorry. If it fits into this and we could just talk about it later if you want, but I was just wondering about neighborly disputes, just over so-and-so's, encroaching on my property, or so-and-so knocked my fence down, or like whatever, like whose responsibility is it to solve those types of things, disputes?
Your worship, that's a civil matter between the property owner.
So is that like RCMP? Is that?
That's the courts, make small claims court type thing.
Interesting, okay. I was just curious.
good. I'm not even gonna ask. Moving on to number 9 of the bylaw or to the agenda tonight. That was a very thorough discussion. Thank you, council. And I know there's comments in the gallery for more discussion on that, so we're gonna get to it again. Number 9 on our agenda is the second reading. We are doing some motions tonight, which is out of the ordinary, but we're trying to get the budgets moving for the end of the year, so we don't have to do a provisional. So number 9 is the second reading of the capital budget bylaw 23-014.
So your worship, before you tonight is an amendment to the original capital budget that you guys had at the first reading, now at the town hall. And that is an amendment under the protective services bylaw to the protection unit. So originally, in the budget, administration had presented purchasing one structural protection unit trailer this year and one next year. So administration, as of today, based on conversations with the Canada Community Build Fund administrators, is recommending that both of those trailers be purchased this year. Because there's some glitches with the way that money is available to us. We have to be able to tie that those purchases to a tangible capital asset, which would be a structure. And council already approved in last year's budget the purchase of the storage shed for public works, so for the gravel and sand storage. We can include this on that application and tie it into that capital asset. And if we don't do that, then there wouldn't be that option for next year for the second purchase. Hence the reason that councils or administration's recommending that both come on this year, and then that would eliminate that from the 2025 capital budget purchase. It's still gas tax money. It's still money that we do have. It's just moving it ahead to make it work. Because if we don't do that this year, then next year when we go to purchase, we won't be eligible for the funding.
I see you still have it in next year.
Yeah, and sorry, I totally glitched out when I made the last minute changes. I forgot to remove it from 2025.
Thanks.
With that, we need a motion for the second reading of the capital budget.
Motion to, have the second reading of the capital budget.
Pardon me?
I'll make a motion. Second reading of the capital budget.
As amended.
As amended.
Ended.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Thank you, Councillor Hanchar. All in favor? Carried. All right, number 10 on the agenda for tonight is the second reading of the O&M budget bylaw 2023-015.
I'll make a motion of the second reading of the OMM budget for 2023-015.
Thank you, Councillor Burtis.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. All right. Unlike the RCMP, I didn't move you to the top. Thanks for waiting. Please come forward, sir. You have a administrative report to present to us, I believe.
Say to Mayor and Council,
Thank you, sir.
kind of deep me alive here, my first admin report to you guys, so.
It's great. First manager to come and report. It's perfect.
That's abnormal from what I'm used to, but that's okay.
Okay, good.
This administrative report is in regards to the Watson Lake Volunteer Fire Department remuneration policy. So I provided through Cam and Tiffany, you guys have access to the document, you can see it. So comments on the policy itself as well as the admin report. So the purpose of the admin report, actually I'll start with the background. I'm going to jump around on this. The policy was issued to me, fire chief, for review by the CAO through council when I started here. Advice was given to contrast comparable departments in the territory, such as Dawson City. I think Whitehorse was also on that list. It was provided as well. I looked at Dawson City's pay scale. It's very similar to what Watson Lake has currently. Whitehorse would not be a comparable department because they're a full-time structured organization. So their paid on call volunteer complement are firefighters only. There's no tiered rank structure. So the varying responsibilities that our members would see would not be equivalent to what paid on call firefighters and Whitehorse would see. So also with the background too, so just a little bit subjective here, but some of my experiences with departments is a lot of departments from Southern Saskatchewan, Central Alberta, where I've worked, is they have tiered pay schedules for members. Based on rank, based on some departments, based on duties. It's kind of hit and miss. There's no two departments that are exactly identical, but the general rhythm of things, I guess you could say, is that departments have a tiered pay structure based on rank. So the purpose of my recommendations, The increased firefighter pay to a denomination more accurate to their efforts, create a pay scale relative to rank, and ensure accurate remuneration regardless of activity in an effort to bolster retention. So part of that would be removing a $15 per training session and $20 per hour per call. So the members would see an hourly pay based on rank, whether it's a community event, training, or an incident response. That way we entice retention and participation kind of in all activities. You know, whether it's a community event, doing a food drive or something like that, or it's a training night that takes 3 hours, you know, $15 to start a truck up in the winter and drive to the fire hall. $15 doesn't get you very far with fuel if you're coming across town. So the financial implications involved in this proposed amendment would be an increase from $25,000 to $32,000 in the 2024 O&M line for volunteer remuneration. So it would be a marginal increase, but not overly substantial, I guess you could say. So this comes with an increase, a hopeful increase to participation in training, training frequency, and hopefully incident attendance as well. The proposed policy would use minimum wage as a baseline, plus a percentage based on rank. This will ensure the policy is timeless and pay rises with minimum wage increases. It'll be the responsibility of the fire chief to monitor for increases and divide it accordingly. So I would follow suit with minimum wage increases is the kind of proposed idea here. Strategic priority implications. So this policy aims to increase accountability for members to drive professionalism, provide a more satisfactory pay. The increased accountability over time will increase the level of service provided and in turn positively affect public safety. A higher rate of pay is also aiming to increase attendance for training and incidents as a method to strengthen retention efforts. I think overall this has the potential to positively impact public safety. Maybe not a one-on-one on par kind of thing, but over time I think we'll see some positive effects. So it'd be my recommendation to adopt the recommended policy changes and attach policy with comments. So I'll kind of go over some of the comments I provided. So the first part of the policy statement, I would leave kind of the quarterly pay as is, kind of the frequency I think is totally fine. I know the pay status levels is what I would remove. So having a level 1 pay status, $20 per hour per person, it's kind of, it's regardless of rank. Someone could be there for 6 weeks, or Michael Boone, who is 28 years. There's a disparity in their abilities and their knowledge and their experience. And not that I want to pay somebody less, but I want to pay someone with more experience, a little bit more money. I think that's fair to them. The practice sessions in training and education, 2 departments I've been in, very similar, where there was less paid for training. And I think it just, there's not as much incentive when it's such a low number like that. You know, we're a little bit more modern approach would be to give them an hourly pay for training. So, you know, if it's a 2.5 hour training session, they get paid for 2.5 hours. If it's a 2.5 hour training session, they show up an hour late, they get paid for an hour and a half. I think it's fair to the municipality as well as the firefighters. So with the percentages I proposed, recruit firefighters, so that's basically your probationary firefighter, the first 12 months on the job, would be minimum wage plus 15%. At current, that's $19.29 an hour. So it's 70 cents less essentially than what we're paying everyone right now. But again, it's a temporary thing. And I would loop in if we had student positions or junior firefighter positions in the future, they would loop in with that, presumably. I may have to change some wording on that though. For a firefighter, I'm proposing minimum wage plus 40%. Currently, that's $23.48 an hour. Captain would be minimum wage plus 60% in my proposal. It's at $26.83 an hour, and a deputy fire chief would be minimum wage plus 75%, and currently that is $29.35 an hour. So it's a pretty fair spread, I think, without being too egregiously high or low on either end. I also added in incident responses will pay a minimum. So I guess the background on this part is that they've kind of been going on some stuff with pay that maybe was not in writing, such as 2-hour minimum payouts for calls. And not that I have an issue with that, but just wasn't in writing. So I kind of provided a few things here. So incident responses will pay a minimum of 1 hour to members for responding to the hall for a canceled call, which happens occasionally with alarms calls or in EMS assist where we get stood down. Because if they go out of the way, they start their vehicle, they drive there, they leave work for an hour, so on, so on. That covers them for that 1 hour. Incident response will pay a minimum of 2 hours to members for responding to any incident lasting less than 2 hours time. All hours will be beyond will accrue at half-hour increments or denominations. Training and community events will pay members per hour of training with no minimum at half-hour denominations. And then the very bottom part, I added in that in the event of a member is put into a scheduled on-call shift, that member is readily available at a scheduled time, they shall receive a remuneration of $1 per hour standby. It seems like a pretty low amount. So we only ask essentially for being on call as accessible. You're in town, you have a radio, and you're otherwise sober and able to respond. So this is just kind of a coverage for some future strategies I have, such as implementing a rotating on-call schedule so that we can see certain officers will get relief. I'll name DC Boone, he puts in a lot of time and takes a lot of the load, and this would maybe shift some responsibility onto other captains and we can roll guys through. So this would basically allow compensation for those hours when they're not actively responding, they're just making sure that they're readily available. I currently don't have anyone in this formal scheduled on-call position or anything, so it's not a current thing. Just allow coverage for future plans. I tried to make that fairly quick and sweet. Council, Mayor, do you have any questions?
I would say thank you.
Yeah, it was
That was a great presentation and appreciate your work on this. And council have any questions?
Sorry. I'm just wondering, have you discussed this with the membership and are they on side with us? Do they think it's reasonable?
I haven't brought the exact numbers to the membership, but I did discuss that I was looking at the minimum wage plus percentages, and they thought it was interesting. I didn't even provide exact numbers. They didn't provide very specific feedback. I brought it to Cam and talked about it first, and we have training this Thursday night. So based on some seemingly positive feedback here, I'll bring the exact numbers to them and the range will bring them up well beyond where they were. So I anticipate it'll be well accepted.
Okay.
My question is, so when we have captains, deputy chiefs, I would expect that the people would have the appropriate training, certification in order to be in those positions.
Absolutely. So just kind of a few pieces here in the bylaw amendment that you guys will see in a future council meeting. Kind of proposing that fire chief has the authority to write standard operating guidelines, which will kind of organize the structure of the department. Now within that is going to be the requirements and responsibilities of each position. Basically, you're going to have a job description or scope for each level of firefighter, whether you're a recruit, firefighter, captain, deputy chief, and some expectations will be set as well for those members in those positions in due time. I'm not here to turn the tables over and make a mess here, but with long sighted here, there will be some expectations set at some point, and training will be provided. I'm not going to put anybody in a position to do something if they don't have the training provided to them. And it's going to be my responsibility to offer that training to ensure that we are keeping up on this and people are in those positions appropriately.
Thank you.
Councilor Burtis, any questions?
Nothing. It was awesome. That was a well-written report. I love it.
Thank you for doing your homework. I would just echo Councilor Hanchar's question and making sure that the members are aware of the situation and getting some feedback from them. Like you've said, I don't think you'll get any pushback on that. I think it's been long awaited. It's unfortunate Councilor Slager's not here because he was the one who initiated this conversation.
Yeah.
You have some counselors.
Yeah, we can't.
I do believe I talked to a couple of the officers, but it hasn't been discussed with memberships.
Okay.
I'll do that this week here.
So we'll be tabling this to next meeting, is that right?
Yeah, your worship, so just to go on some of the conversation, the two current bylaws that affect the fire department have been reviewed and we're still reviewing, but they're gonna come for your January committee of the whole meeting. So that'll be we figured on
The 12th or something like that.
or something.
Push it back a week.
Yeah, so that's where they're gonna come forward. And then that will, along with this bylaw, will form part and parcel.
Perfect.
I just know that Councilor Slager would like to probably provide some input.
Yeah.
And I just thought if we were.
Definitely. So my recommendation is that this bylaw gets tabled over to the same, and then we join all the bylaws together and process through in January.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Fortunate for you, we've already partially approved the O&M budget that has $32,000 in that line, so.
Crazy.
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 But I'll just say thank you again. You're doing a great job.
Yes, thank you.
Your effort there, so.
Well done, thank
So
you.
this will be tabled, we'll be discussing more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting. Okay. Exciting, well presented, love it. Maybe we should have all managers
I know.
present their admin
The
reports.
goal is to start in the new year. Each one of the managers will be reporting on their attendance, so just happens that Joey is new and the first guinea pig.
Appreciate it.
Really well.
I appreciate it very much. Okay, next on the agenda, we have number 12, the Arctic Inspiration Prize. CEO Lockwood, just give a little background on
Oh,
this.
sorry, Arctic Inspiration?
Yeah.
So Arctic Inspiration, I believe Councillor Hanchar and Councillor Paquette had presented on it a long time ago, and I see Councillor Hanchar actually has the information. It was originally funded strictly solely by the city of Whitehorse for the Yukon, and the city of Whitehorse came forward Association of Yukon Communities Convention back in the spring time, March, it must have been a March meeting, with the request that they would like to get to lessen their share and have other communities participate. Currently, I can confirm, Whitehorse is, dropped their share from 10,000 to 5,000. Teslin and I'm just having a
Carmax.
CarMax have stated that they will donate in between 1,000 and 1,500. Mayo and Faro said they would not participate. So they were waiting from answers from Dawson City and Hayes Junction as to their contributions.
And ourselves,
And
obviously.
ourselves, yes.
Okay,
But the other communities, the smaller communities are doing it between $1,000 and $1,500.
okay,
And it does fall, there is money in the budget under your council's budget line.
council?
Okay, so I think I have told you guys this before, but I guess I'm not opposed to us making some sort of contribution, but I think that that should only be, like, should be contingent on whether or not we're in a surplus. So if there's ever a time where we're not, then I think we should drop it. And I think that we should maybe match whatever one of the other communities similar to our size, maybe, that is matching, but I don't know, on the lower, yeah.
Dawson did 50, or Tesla did 1,500. We're,
Yeah, 1,000.
I was thinking like 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000, 1,500 for those other communities that have said they are gonna donate, they just haven't confirmed which amount it is.
That's just kind of where I'm sitting.
okay, thanks.
I agree.
I'm in the same spot as Lauren as well. As long as we have the funds to be able to do it, then, it's.
So 1,500 or 2,000?
1,000.
We're less than Tesla. It's your decision. Hate to put the pressure.
I know, I said 1,000 last time. I'm
Okay.
good with that. That's where I think there's if they're looking to make 10,000 total, we're getting 5,000 from the city of Whitehorse, $1,000 from all the other smaller communities. I mean, I think that's
Fair.
reasonable.
Spending money, so I would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a $1,000 donation to Arctic Inspiration Prize.
I will say.
Thank you, Councillor Hanchar. Thank you, Councillor Burtis. All in favor? Carried. All right, another donation request is from the Watson Lake Ski Hill Auction. Previously, we were creative. We did some different things to try and encourage purchasers. We always shy away from donating the hall because we don't like to give that to everybody because there is fees for that associated with it, right? Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I don't know. I was speaking with Councillor Slager earlier and he was suggesting the hall, and he thought $300. In addition to that, I think in the past, we've also done things like a rec center pass. I don't know if that was for a year or if it was multiple passes and then, but I don't know if that's a way we want to go.
Because normally, like, what are,
We've mixed it up. It's been changed several times. You know, it has in the very past was the hall. But like I said, we've kind of shied away from donating the hall because that's kind of the request from every user if it goes that way. And if we do it for one, then everyone expects it.
yeah.
So
So
then we never,
that's kind of what we're shying away from that one and trying to come up with other ways of donating.
Do we have things left over from the Northern Light Center?
I think the easiest would be a dollar amount.
PR budget.
Dollar amount is better?
It's boring, but I mean,
and then leave it up to administration to
Yeah.
get something and do something with it.
or it's
Well, no, so you donate the dollar amount to the organization and then they can
purchase or.
purchase, or if not, then the money can just go towards, you know, their overall fundraising amount.
Correct.
What do you think is a good dollar amount?
I don't know what's reasonable. I
know.
don't know, 500, is that crazy?
I think that's reasonable.
Do we have it in our PR budget, Cam?
We do. Yes, we do. So,
We're spending money, so I need a motion.
we have like 19,000 in our, one of our budgets.
Make motion.
I'll make a motion to donate $500 for the object.
Thank you, Council Burtis.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Council Cantor. All in favor? Carried. All right, Councilor Open Forum. Should we quickly discuss the meeting with Mostyn for January? Sure.
Who requested it?
He did. He's coming, so,
And maybe we can ask,
To town?
worship, we can ask Riel to chime in.
sure.
Wish.
Is in
Is
person?
Rael online? Is there feedback you can?
Hi,
Hi there.
hi there. Yeah, well, ideally, if you're able to give a couple dates, that would be ideal, whatever works for you. And then you can relay through Cam as well if there are any specific items you'd like to discuss with the minister. And
Okay,
aside from that, I mean, if the minister is obviously keen on meeting council, but if you know there's a sense the council is interested in meeting with the minister, that's also fine.
okay, well, I think it'd be mean to do it the first week of January, honestly.
I'm sorry, what were the options?
Your worship, when I met with Minister Mostyn on Saturday as well. Not Saturday, on Thursday. And he's requesting that it would happen before your worship leaves on to your trip south. So you're present. So I guess that puts us sort of before the 16th or
Between
something.
the 8th and the 17th.
I can make myself available whenever. We have council on the 9th is the only thing.
Can you,
So it could, we can put in for the 10th, 11th.
Yep.
In there,
sure. Or even the council meeting?
Evening?
or the night of the council meeting, we can give him any day that we can see what he, but.
Yeah, just-
Letting him know that the meeting of the night, on the night of the 9th is a council meeting that
Yeah.
he could be attending.
So yeah, give them that option of that whole week there.
Yeah, 9th, 10th, 11th.
There's not much happening then otherwise.
Really, you copy that in?
Yeah, 9th, 10th, or 11th.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, that's all I had for council open forum. So is there anything from council on open forum?
Not for me, no.
Councilor Paquette?
Yeah, I just want to thank the town for cleaning up our streets so nicely. It's great.
Councilor Paquette? Anything else? Do you want to discuss AYC or no, or yes?
So on the weekend, we attended the AYC meeting, quarterly board meeting, myself, Councillor Paquette and CAO Lockwood. I didn't prepare any notes, sorry.
We had some speakers, Richard Eden, who was speaking about how they have specifically designated a reporter for the communities. And so
a reporter?
He's, your worship, Richard is the new manager of Yukon News.
Oh.
And they've received funding from the federal government to actually have a community reporter. That reports on issues strictly outside of Whitehorse. They're not allowed to report on anything. And hence that's I sent you an email where she's requesting an interview with yourself for this week. That actually involving our budgets, questions about some stuff that, you know, she's trying to be, her name is Amy Kenny. She's trying to be very proactive and get good news stories about the communities, which is something we've been lacking, but CBC also has a community reporter, and his name is Chris McIntyre. Been very proactive and very good for trying to get the word out about what's going on in communities, but I think it's a win-win, so it was nice to have that presentation. Usually we're on the other side of the trying to get coverage.
100%. Yep. Okay.
And people can write in or however to connect with her to be able to put in community reports if they would like to.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I wonder if they'll do any kind of publishing in the community, or if they're gonna strip that to the newspaper or have a section for us.
Yeah, so, yeah, it would be in the newspaper under their community section, and I think same on their webpage, but that's something we can confirm when we speak with her.
Cool. Okay, great. That'd be a great way to communicate if people got the wind of that. Cool. Okay.
Service control and regulation, they did a discussion paper on a 5-year review, so we did look at that and kind of went through their review questions.
Your worship, that's the cannabis bylaw or cannabis legislation. It's been 5 years. So the government's doing a full review of the cannabis legislation, and they figured it was easier to come to the meeting and actually take feedback from AYC board members there, because as you know, it's hard to get people to engage otherwise, but they do have engaged Yukon Engage website where people can actually, the public can feed into the review.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yes. So thank you, Sam, for that. President Laking gave us his,
Can you speak up? Sorry.
President Laking
I hear you.
gave us his report. And I forgot my book, so I got my notes kind of all over the place. Unfortunately, the office was broken into, so there was some electronics that was broken and stolen. He talked about the Chief and Mayor Forum, which you attended. Thank you for that. He talked about federal infrastructure funding, talked about housing federal funding. He talked about the Northern Remote Forum with FCM.
Still can't hear you.
Gas tax, sorry, there was gas tax, and talked about the CMG. What's working, no, it's not working, and intergovernmental relations. So that was his report there. Anything else to add, Pam, in that?
No, President Laking or Councillor Laking is on he's actually the chair of the Northern Remote Forum through FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So it's good to have that voice representing the Yukon and all of the communities at that table. And the key thing is that the federal government originally said last spring when they did table the budget that infrastructure and that stuff would be tabled in the fall when they did their budget address 3 weeks ago, and that is come and gone, and they did not announce that funding. So if FCM is lobbying on behalf of all municipalities to get that moving, and actually the premier and a bunch of the ministers are all in Ottawa currently meeting with their federal counterparts. So the premier is actually was meeting about infrastructure.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll get it back on track in the spring, but changes are coming. From what they've been saying, and we were actually referenced as one of the communities that is ready for the new changes. The new changes are going to be based off of scoping. So having a plan, knowing what you want done and have that laid out, And the second thing is asset management, which we have an asset management plan.
Yes.
And we do need to do some updates on it, but we do have a plan. And we were actually in the meetings, they recognized Watson Lake for being at the forefront of all the communities. To keep those rolling. So, we've seen that they've been talking about the changes coming for, the last 3 or 4 years. It was actually before COVID when they started talking about the changes to what was gonna be needed coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
And now that money is getting harder to get from the federal government because all of a sudden they've realized that money isn't there, there's no trees. So they're gonna really tighten up the requirements, and like I said, Yukon government's recognizing that, and hence that our development people and like Shelby Workman, that's the director of infrastructure development branch in them, are really leading that charge on our behalf so that we're sitting right there waiting to go. So
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for attending that. Sounds like it was very informative. Great
There's a
team,
lot.
great team that goes there. When there was a time when Watson Lake didn't attend AYC, so I think the term you were looking for was that the budget doesn't balance itself.
yeah,
So the money doesn't just
Mhm.
magically appear. So anyways, I think we have quite a few people in the gallery, so I think we might switch to gallery open forum and give everybody a chance to ask questions. Can we go to maybe start with the questions that were asked during our conversation of the general maintenance bylaw?
What's the action?
Yeah,
so
well,
Button's referring to the
Yes.
birds in the maintenance bylaw.
okay,
And then Angela Miller's referring to hotels and places and places like BJ, there's places that push snow, that's the snow removal. Jenny Skelton, new proposed Yukon sign is really ugly and wonder how much cost to develop. The tourists really like to present sign, so do I.
mhm,
Angela agreed with Jenny. And then Button was a lot of us use no man's land for pushing the snow and then pay to have it removed after.
Yeah.
And then Angela with Aaron's fence falling down under this bylaw, this is knocked down by the neighbor, that falls under that previous comment, that's a civil thing.
okay,
Jenny Skelton, it was very difficult to hear and follow the RCMP and Delisa's presentations on the sound. I suggest giving the microphone. Yes, unfortunately, that is an issue that we keep having with this current system because the microphones, we can't get extensions. There's only 3 of them, but we are working on ordering a new system which will be more compatible for this environment.
okay,
And then Angela Miller asked about the town held to those standards. And then,
is that snow removal, I imagine?
yes, and then Button Walters, I would like to know why bylaw has different rules for different people. Bylaw states you will paint shipping containers and cans. I painted mine, neighbor doesn't have to. Can you tell me why? I can inform you that there is actions going on under the bylaw, so.
Okay.
And Angela Miller is just talking about the same thing. Color, same with Button again.
Full conversation.
Yeah, and then Angela's referring to the compost about he's like wants
Oh, yeah,
Haynes Junctions. It's a great idea, and then Jenny Skelton composting should be encouraged, perhaps a bulletin or leaflet going out, so that's an educational piece. And then Colleen Craft asked if Watson Lake has ever benefited from the Arctic Inspiration Award winner.
Working with one right now.
Yeah, we're currently working with one, so, and then Colleen has nothing else to add.
okay.
And
Who else is on the?
Patty said nothing from her.
Okay,
So you have Angela Button, Colleen, Janice has no comments. Jenny Skelton would be on there. And Patty McLeod, your worship.
okay, so Patty doesn't have comments. Jenny, do you have any comments you'd like to add at this point?
Angela has no comments as well.
Okay.
Yes, and Jenny didn't come off.
Okay, so
No, thank you very much for the opportunity, but I didn't hear what the amount was for the ski hill.
$500, Jenny.
Oh, well, thank you very, very much. It's very generous. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Looking forward.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the auction.
So Patty doesn't have comments, so the only one you have left is Riel, and I don't know if he has any more comments for your worship.
Hi, no, I don't. Thank you for those dates.
Thank you very much. All right, we move to the gallery here currently. Chief, you have any comments to add to our meeting tonight?
Sure. Drayton Valley has a similar compost program to what East Junction does. They heavily subsidize private composters. I don't know what the quantity is or what the actual subsidy percentages are, but I think it's fairly successful.
The municipality provides them?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Thank you for that.
Glad they took.
Ruth?
So I've been a composter since mid-80s, and I've produced all my soil for my plants and things like that. And I don't have animals and stuff in mine. And Nina does not smell the stink coming from it because there is none. It is, there is no cooked anything in it. It is just produce, and that's it. And it works very, very well. And it's in a pile, which the sun gets to it. If anybody wants any tips on it, then I would love to. Do these bylaws apply to employees? Because the employees have savage trees, they get a couple signs, I think even a hot fire hydrant at the time. So when you're doing the bylaw, I was just curious.
With respect to, sorry, like the snow removal or what are you talking
Well,
about?
there's the- yeah.
Damage boulevard.
Oh, I see.
Like,
Okay,
yeah.
got you.
So I just didn't know if they are applied to the same level that
Should
citizens.
fall under the same standards.
Okay. And then, Dean's budget. We talk about the roads.
Mhm.
And I want you folks to remember the horrible shape our roads are in. So when you're spending money, you gotta put money away and it has to be taken care of. It's not, it's getting into third world countries standards in some places, so. And I'm not exaggerating on that number.
One.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's when it's definitely there.
yeah. It'd be better if it was plowed up and put in as gravel and just done gravel. Anyway, when you're doing the budgets, needs and please. Instead of spending money on other things, and Cam is so good at finding funding, but we've got to get those roads taken.
Okay,
There was an incident this summer where somebody must have gouged out not too far from our place, and the bylaw officers showed up. Asked us about it, wasn't us, but they actually patched it with Orleans. You know, it was quite an effort to patch it. We gave them the contact of the person that actually probably damaged it, but we don't know.
I'll just add to your comment, Ruth, that we have expressed our concern to administration about the roads. And we agree with you. And our current infrastructure program isn't the answer to that road situation. So we have expressed our concern with administration. There's no solution at this point, but they do know. We do express it every time, and there's money that really, there's not money for roads because the roads are so expensive, but to start something, I agree. I understand.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just keep on putting it off.
Yeah.
It's not improving.
Yeah.
It has to be done so much at one time, and then if you have to pull up and do it again, I thought your wonderful way of working in this one plan and going to the next and doing all of that, down where, I don't know what street, but where you guys were doing the big work thing.
Titina?
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
The hardest.
Yeah.
I was fully in favor of all that,
Mhm.
and seeing that this was all gonna get done, and then it's been delayed, and then the costs got up so high and everything else. But we can't wait for this kind of thing. We have to look at things done differently. So,
Okay,
anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being so dedicated. Elise, did you have anything to add to this evening or any other comments?
The one thing that I was thinking is, but it's hopefully is addressed by the fire department, but I guess the current cost of getting a class one is $1,000. I wonder if they would include those that come into the situation with tickets like that. If they would be not reimbursed for what they can do, because it'd be great if the town can continue training people and getting the necessary licenses, but it also is big savings to the town if they're hired with those licenses, or not, I guess, as part of the fire, volunteer fire.
Okay.
So, because it is, I'm shocked at that.
Okay. Part of the training. Okay. Anything else for this evening? Good, okay, great, thank you. Okay, I think we hit the nail on the head there. Don't have any in camera tonight. I do have information for council that will follow up this week and have some more information for you on the next council meeting. But it can wait. I'll talk to you individually. Okay. All right, and adjournment,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I was like.
Councillor Hancher. Thank you, Councillor Burns. All in favor? Carried. Good night. Thank you.